Do you go on dates with married men? Naturally?
Argumentative.
So you spent your whole date getting to know each other, talking about me.
Don't flatter yourself. No, we did not spend the whole time talking about you. He was under the impression you were having an affair, so him moving on was a natural effect from that.
He told you that?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And then you had no contact with Charles after that, correct?
Well, he was dead, so clearly I didn't have contact with him.
Ooh, don't flatter yourself. Boy, that was the line of the day, wasn't it? In Cult Mom's fiery cross-examination during her homicide trial. So, was it a good look in front of the jury? Plus, Gilgo Beach murder suspect trying to get some evidence tossed out. This is a documentary about his case is topping the charts on Netflix. This hour, Rex Yorman's defense attorney joins us live. Also, we're being a voice for victims this morning for Officer John O'Keefe. For the first time on Court TV, close friends of the beloved Boston police officer are speaking out. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Thursday morning to you, or should I say happy Friday Eve. Welcome to Opening Statements. I'm your host, Julie Grant. We have a tremendous show planned for you this morning. I'm so excited about it. Let's get it started. Grab that cup of coffee or tea, whatever you like in the morning. It's time for my opening statement. What an incredible display of hypocrisy. Lori Despicable Daybell going after the nice lady that Charles Vallow was getting to know. Cult Mom goes after this lady on cross, accusing her of seeing a married man. And Cult Mom also lies about the fact that Charles had already filed for divorce from her by this point in time. She just comes at this woman and tries to make her the villain in the story. Oh, but we know better, don't we, my friends? This whole trial stems from Lori cheating on Charles. It was Cult Mom who had the affair. It was Cult Mom who stepped down on her marriage. Charles was devastated. We've got the proof of that in the videos where he is pleading for help. He doesn't recognize the woman that he married. And at the time, she was also threatening to murder him. So there's that. And then, as part of her torrid affair, Lori Despicable Daybell murders her own children. We can't forget about that, can we, my friends? You know, if only Charles Vallow could have lived out his life with a kind, loving partner that he was trying to find, wouldn't that have been wonderful? He was a good man. He sure didn't deserve what was done to him. May Charles Vallow rest in peace. And may the truth prevail at this trial so that everybody knows who the real villain is. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, I want to give you your daily docket.
Yeah, I didn't like to cause death of another human being. I spent all my life to save lives. So I was pretty much in shock myself with what happened. Yes, I was extremely sorry and guilty and shameful about what happened. Yes, I struggled with that throughout the whole interview. That's why you see all this. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. I was struggling.
In Massachusetts, we're in a verdict watch for the murder trial of Dr. Ingolf Turk. Court resumes for those deliberations at 9 a.m. Eastern. We're also in a verdict watch in the murder trial of Monica Cementilli. Deliberations in that one resume in California at 1 p.m. Eastern. And in Michigan, we've got the closing arguments expected today in the murder retrial for defendant Linda Sturmer. Court's going to start up at 9 a.m. Eastern. We're going to take you in there live. Now, let's turn to our top story. Counselor Cult Mom will be on cross with more witnesses today in Arizona. Court's going to start up at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. There's that 30-minute delay imposed by the court. On Wednesday, she cross-examined a woman who went on a date with Charles Vallow, as I was mentioning. Now, this was the night before Charles' death, and this is long after. This is many months after he filed for divorce from Cult Mom. So Cult Mom confronted this nice lady named Nancy about the date, and it got very tense. Take a look.
Do you go on dates with married men?
Naturally.
Naturally?
Argumentative. I'm going to also object under 611 for harassment.
All right. I'll sustain the objection.
Your Honor, do I not have a right to cross-examine this witness for what she has already testified to?
You can cross-examine her about what she's testified to.
So you did go on a date with a married man,
I went on a date with Charles.
but you did not know he was married.
I knew his divorce was not final.
His divorce was not started.
Oh, but it had. It had back in February. Charles filed for divorce. This was in July, right? So this is several months after that. You know, poor Charles and poor Nancy there. But Nancy held her own. Let's talk about this. Was this a good look for Cult Mom in front of the jury? Okay, because her affair is gonna come out. We're gonna hear about it. Let's bring in high-profile attorneys John Phillips and Michael J. Brown. Good morning to you both. John, let me start with you. Your thoughts on what we just watched?
I just had a conversation with one of the wonderful Court TV producers and was just like, she brings all this on herself. Her and her legal team and her consults and all this, like, it's just drama everywhere. But I think it's why we're all lean forward watching it. But it's good. This is good coffee talk this morning for sure.
It really is, my friend. It really is. Michael J. Brown, your thoughts after watching that?
Well, good morning, everybody. The only thing I do want to point out is, for a layperson, she actually has some very impressive skill in the sense of her opening statement, her ability to cross-examine. So I do want to point that out. But what will happen is, as the evidence comes forward and the jury hears more evidence and negative evidence against her, they'll start turning. And I think then everything she says will be untrustworthy, with suspicion, and it's going to turn at some point in time if it hasn't already.
Mm-hmm. You're right, Michael. Yeah, it's funny. I was saying when I saw her open, it wasn't as bad as I expected. I've seen lawyers do worse. She told a good story. I know you both have too. I know. It's true. She told a good story. It might have been full of some lies, but it was a story nonetheless. So yeah, point taken, Michael. Appreciate it. Let's take a look at a clip here. This is from one of Lori's former friends talking about how Lori was saying that Charles had become possessed.
Was there anything that Lori said at this meeting in February-ish of 2019 that she said about Charles that stood out to you?
She was concerned about dark spirits plaguing him.
Did you hear Lori speak about Charles being possessed more than once?
Yes.
John, I feel like Cult Mom needs to pick a lane here because, in the last clip, we see her holding on tight to the idea that Charles is her husband, and she is just so appalled to this woman who went on the date with him. But yet she's squawking to these other friends like the one there that, oh, he's possessed. I don't know what to do with him. What do you think?
Look, in law school, they say if you have the law on your side, argue the law. If you have the facts on your side, argue the facts. Otherwise, just argue it. And it's the difference of, look, I crawl in my client's skin and cry with them and like get really into them and know them. But I'm not them. I'm a third party and I'm objective and I try to keep things outside of my worldview when I'm advocating publicly for my clients. And you can't do that when it's your own battles. And that's what we're seeing, all over here is just the cross-contamination of somebody, trying to prove their case so personally.
Right, John. I've got another clip. Michael J. Brown, you'll like this one. This is where she's trying. You got to give her, credit for trying. As you said, she's going to make an objection here. It doesn't go exactly how she planned, but let's watch.
Have you ever met Lori Vallow?
No.
Again, just sort of yes or no. Did Charles talk to you about
Your Honor.
why?
Objection. Leading.
Objection. I haven't heard the question yet. Go ahead.
So just yes or no. Did Charles talk to you about why he
Leading
was
is yes or no.
No, leading is a question that suggests the answer. So she can answer yes or no.
So again, just yes or no. Did Charles talk to you about why he was separated from his wife?
Yes.
So, Michael, the judge took her to school there a little bit. What do you think? She is trying.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. You know, Julie, I don't know what state doesn't permit leading questions on cross-examination.
I should have clarified. You know what? It was direct, so I should have set it up better. So
Okay.
It was the Commonwealth, or the state of Arizona, forgive me, the state of Arizona asking the questions, and then Cult Mom was objecting there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in that instance, yes. You know, judges say when they instruct the defendant, they say, hey, we're going to hold you to the same standard as we would a lawyer. They always say that. But I think all of us have seen pro se defendants try cases, and quite frankly, judges do give them more latitude, because the last thing they want to do is be reversed by an appellate court saying, hey, they didn't get a fair trial. But nevertheless, she's, again, as a layperson, I was impressed with her skills in a courtroom. But John hit the nail on the head in the sense that she's all over the place. And at some point, if it hasn't happened already, the jury will certainly turn on her when they start hearing the evidence. And there's the person. It's not just an advocate. There's the actual bad person in front of us making these arguments. It becomes a problem.
Right. You're right, Michael. Yeah, it's a shame. You watch her and you see potential, don't you? I mean, she's very smart. I mean, you know, as they say in Boston, wicked smart, right? I mean, she is so smart. And here you think, gosh, if she would have gone to school and maybe could have become a lawyer and been a great one. But instead, she went another route, as we know. John Phillips, the overall big picture here, big picture of her presenting the idea that this was a tragedy, not a crime, not a setup. We know she wasn't physically there in the house when this happened. Do you think she's got a shot?
Yes, I do think she has a shot. I give. You know, we're supposed to under all the Bill of Rights and Constitution. They're innocent until proven guilty, right?
Right.
But I can't get over that everything she's saying, every question that she's asking, every comment she's making to the judge, is testimony. Is presentation of her own opinions. It's what's going to sink her, probably.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And she's, just like Michael said, all over the place. It's like, yesterday I was like losing my mind. She's crossing the detective and chipping away at her theory of the case is this was self-defense with her brother. But she's going, well, do you know if my hands were tested for gunshot residue? Do you know if my daughters were? I'm going, oh my God. Like, are you insinuating that you were the shooter, Cult Mom? It's incredible. We'll leave it there for now. John Phillips, you got a busy day in court. I know we need to say goodbye to you. Thank you for joining us for this segment. Michael J. Brown, we got a special segment with you coming up next. When we come back after the break, my friends, we're going to talk about a big case that Michael has involving the man who's being accused in the Gilgo Beach homicides. And Michael's putting up a big fight to keep some key DNA evidence out. We'll talk about it. Plus,
something happened to your brother. They found him in the snow.
we are paying tribute to Officer John O'Keefe this morning. For the first time ever, his close friends are speaking out here on Court TV about his life and his legacy. You don't want to miss it. That's coming up at 8:30.
Doomsday Cult Mom is now lawyer Lori.
She's representing herself.
On charges of conspiring to murder her fourth husband.
She said, I can murder you now.
The Cult Mom conspiracy trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
Months after Shannon disappeared, police were searching the side of Ocean Parkway, and they learned that this was a bigger case than they imagined.
Police on Long Island are searching for a serial killer.
We had somebody who was targeting sex workers.
Basically with impunity, right under everyone's nose.
Gone Girls, the Long Island serial killer, currently the #2 viewed show on Netflix's global top 10 list. It focuses on the investigation into the Gilgo Beach murders. And as this new docuseries captures the attention of true crime watchers all around the world, the real-life trial for this case is what's trending in true crime. Defendant Rex Heuermann is being accused in a string of these deaths. And his attorney wants certain DNA evidence that was collected during the course of the investigation to be excluded from being brought into the trial. So this issue was the focus of some recent court hearings ahead of the trial date. On the heels of that defense motion, the state's response reads, and this is just in part, quote, the advancement of forensic science and nuclear DNA analysis involving whole genome sequencing has allowed law enforcement to now link genetic profiles consistent with the defendant and or individuals who've resided with him to 6 of these 7 victims through hairs found at the crime scene and or on the victims. But Rex Heuermann's defense team doesn't believe this type of testing belongs in criminal court, saying that it's actually never been used in a forensic setting ever before this case. So should the DNA evidence be admissible? Let's bring in Rex Heuermann's attorney, Michael J. Brown. Michael, would you explain to us, please, how you found out, the research you did that led you to realizing that this would be a first, essentially, for allowing these types of results to come in?
Julie, the SNP DNA and the whole genome sequencing, which is what this company on the West Coast called Astrea, is attempting to do, that we found out that it is a novel approach and that it has never been used in any type of forensic criminal setting. Now, having said that, they did move in the state of Idaho on a case called Daybell, where it was a murder, it was a cold case, and they found some DNA. And that is the first case that they attempted to use it in. And the court in Idaho actually did allow it to come in, keeping in mind the standard in the state of Idaho was different and less than the state of New York. We have what's called a Fry standard, and there's either Daubert or Fry. The state of Idaho has neither. But in any event, that's the type of science that they claim they have, and that is what we're trying to preclude at this point.
Michael, how did the hearing go? This was one that we weren't able to watch it. You know, there are certain ones where we're able to, others, you know, where cameras were kept out. How did you feel afterward?
Well, I felt fine. I think it went well. They've put on 2 witnesses so far. Dr. Kelly Harris, who is a population geneticist, is what I believe her title is. And then they put on Dr. Nicole Navrosky, who is a biological forensic scientist. And these are real smart people with great credentials. But the ultimate issue, the ultimate standard we have is general acceptance in the relevant scientific community. So far, I've seen a bunch of smart people come in, talk about this type of process in DNA, but they are not experts in what we call the relevant scientific community. Specifically, casework, criminal cases, forensic related. So far, although they're smart and they said what they had to say, and I thought cross-examination went well, I don't think they lent much to the determination by the court on the specific issue, which is this generally accepted in the relevant scientific community?
Mm-hmm. Michael, I have a clip. This is from Suffolk County DA Ray Tierney talking publicly at a press conference about which hairs tested point to members of Rex Heuermann's family. Let's take a look.
The evidence is we have mitochondrial DNA from a hair that was found on the body of Valerie Mack, which was a portion of the body of Valerie Mack, which was found off of Mill Road. That hair, mitochondrial DNA analysis was performed, and that hair was consistent with the mitochondrial DNA profiles of both Asa Heuermann and her daughter, Asa Ellerup, and her daughter, Victoria Heuermann.
Okay, and Michael, you recall that was largely how we started hearing about this case, how investigators, when they were talking about it, they were alleging that they were able to link your client through things that were discarded, things that were in the trash, namely, a drink, that his daughter had touched. We know a pizza box that they say he had touched, things like that. One of his wife's hairs apparently on one of the victims. As you know, and I say this all the time, I say this when you're on the program, when you're not on the program, I say it to other people when we talk about this case. The best thing Rex Heuermann has going for him is you, that he has you as his attorney, because these facts are very, very bad, as you know. If you don't get your wish with this DNA evidence being excluded, what comes next then, Michael?
Well, from day one, he has maintained his innocence, Julie. So we take it step by step. You've tried many cases in your career. You know how it works. So we go step by step. We make motions. We try to preclude evidence that we feel is improper. There's a pending severance motion, as you may be aware, to try to separate the cases for legal reasons. There will be other motions that I know will be forthcoming. So listen, we will obviously fight this particular battle. If we win, that gets precluded. If we lose this battle, we continue on and we make our legal arguments and zealously represent the accused. That's what we do.
Sure. No, I know you do. Are there any other things you can share with us in terms of some defense strategy? I understand there are things you want to, keep private, but is there anything publicly for anybody kind of wanting to know, okay, what may be coming at the point of trial from the defense team? I know you're not just going to sit there. I know you're going to bring it. Is there any hint of something you can tell us today, Michael?
Well, the only thing I will say is we're dealing with the DNA and this new novel, what I call novel magic, they call science. If we don't prevail on this issue, I will indicate that there's going to be a subsequent motion to preclude that evidence anyway, because in New York State, it's the Department of Health is required to grant permits for any out-of-state companies that want to offer into evidence things like this, DNA testing. And I know Astrea, the company on the West Coast in California, is not permitted in New York, especially at the time of testing. And I don't think to this day they are. So if we don't prevail on this issue, I know that we're going to be filing a motion to preclude the evidence based on those grounds in and of itself. But we're waiting for the Fry determination, and that's ongoing. We still have numerous more witnesses that are going to be taking the stand, and I expect it's going to go another month or so.
Sure. Tell me, Michael, how about the Netflix doc? How does that affect anything for you in your trial prep?
No, quite frankly, I haven't even watched it. I don't have time to watch it, Julie.
You're so
obviously,
busy.
people come up to me and tell me about it, and things that they've told me, it's things that I've been living and working on for the last almost 2 years, so I'm familiar with it, but I haven't watched it.
Is your son helping you go through all that discovery, Michael? Because I know we've talked before how there are terabytes being handed over to you. I mean, we're talking devices that could hold like all the books in the Library of Congress, which are like major amounts of information being turned over. Is anybody that we know helping you out with this case, or is this kind of all on you?
No, if it was all on me, I'd be long gone. There's numerous people helping me. We have great lawyers helping me on this case. We have excellent experts, both on the DNA front, on telecommunications front, on the computer front. So it's a case of significant magnitude in terms of the discovery. And remember, Julie, this is an ongoing investigation since the early 90s. And there are 7 victims that they claim my client is responsible for. So the amount of discovery is, I can't even articulate it and put it into words, but suffice it to say there's numerous people, all great lawyers, great experts helping and assisting on this case, and I'm lucky to have them.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, look, Michael J. Brown, he's lucky to have you. As I said before, we'll leave it there for today. But thank you for sharing all of that with us. And I know you've got to get off to court, so we'll say goodbye to you now. Thank you for everything. We'll see you next week. And coming up next here on Opening Statements, as the retrial nears for defendant Karen Reed, we are putting the focus where it belongs, on the victim, on Officer John O'Keefe, as we salute him this morning here on Opening Statements, as 3 of his dearest friends join us live to talk about his life and his legacy.
We held back because we wanted the justice system to play out. It didn't play out the way it should, and these people have been robbing the O'Keefes of justice and making them shameful of everything that's going on, and it's not right.
Did you have any siblings?
2, yes. My sister Kristen brother John. They all called him Johnny, especially if you're a family.
And what did Johnny do for work?
Boston police.
How long was he a member of the Boston?
16 years.
As defendant Karen Reed's murder retrial is set to begin in Massachusetts this morning, we're giving a voice to the victim, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. O'Keefe was a veteran officer who was off duty when he was killed on January 29th of 2022, allegedly hit by the car that his girlfriend Karen Reed was driving. O'Keefe died in a snowbank in the front of his friend's house. Outside the Dedham, Massachusetts courthouse where the trial's been happening, it's been a spectacle. They may not be screaming and other people outside, but make no mistake about it, John O'Keefe and his family have very loyal supporters.
This is not normal. You normally do not tailgate a murder trial. It is not something that should be normalized. People should be able to let what happens in the courtroom make their decision, not a mob of people outside tailgating saying that they're having the time of their life. A man died. He's been forgotten in all of this. We're trying to refocus him.
So how did we get here? How did it become such a circus? Well, here on this program, we keep the focus where it belongs, on the victim, on John O'Keefe. And this morning, we're paying tribute to him with 3 of his dearest friends. I'm so pleased to welcome on the program now Brendan Kane, John Jackson, and Jackie Dugal. Good morning to you all. Thank you so much for having this important conversation with all of us here on Opening Statements. And might I just start by saying, just person to person, from me to all 3 of you, I am so sorry for your loss. I know this has affected you all greatly. And so here what I want to do with all of you this morning is talk about your friend. I know you all call him Johnny. Johnny's life. And then we're also going to talk about his legacy this morning. So let's start with his life, the person that he was, the way he lived. I want you all to tell us more. Brendan, you've known him since childhood. For 40 years, you two were friends. Would you start us off, please?
Sure, Julie. Thank you very much for having us this morning. We appreciate the support. Johnny and I grew up on the same street in a very typical suburban town outside of Boston, a town called Braintree. It's about 15 minutes away from Canton, where everything happened. But growing up, it was a pretty prototypical childhood, kind of tropey in a way, but we played in the neighborhood a lot, rode our bikes a lot. From nursery school all the way up through high school. We stayed close through college, where Johnny met John Jackson, also on the panel. We all became close friends, stayed friends right through the time where he was murdered.
Oh my gosh. And so let's pick up where you left off. John Jackson, so you met Johnny O'Keefe in college, and what happened then next?
Hey, Julie, good morning. Thank you for this too, by the way. Appreciate it. He was just an amazing man that was easy to get along with. You become lifelong friends with somebody like that pretty easily. And once you kind of got in Johnny's orbit, he kept you in close, and anybody else in his orbit kind of came in with you. So he kept us all pretty tight. He just had that kind of personality about him, and we're going to miss him tremendously. And you can see here there's some support gathering behind this, and we just want everybody to realize, some people are looking at this as entertainment, and some people are looking at this as some sort of way to fulfill something in themselves. But at the end of the day, Johnny's not here with us anymore. For those closest to him, and for many others, we're going to miss him tremendously. And that's why we appreciate you having us on today, Julie.
Oh, most certainly, John. And then, Jackie, I know that you ended up meeting Johnny. This is after college, when he's working professionally as a police officer, and through a connection with your husband working in the same place. Would you walk us through that?
Sure. I actually knew John just from being around in South Boston, my 20s, and socially before I met my husband. And he was actually with my husband the day that we met. Since he took over being a parent to his niece and nephew, he moved to the town over from us, and we really, formed a great friendship with him, and he'd give us a bunch of his, hand-me-down toys and sports equipment, and we just thought that he would be somebody we'd grow old with and be friends with forever. And my husband and John worked at the same station. They saw each other almost every day in the gym. They didn't work in the same department, but at the same time. And I looking through photos to try and give you, we just didn't have many from the last 5 years, because you don't think of taking pictures with your best friends, and you just kind of hang out, and it's not something you think about. So that kind of stuck out to me too.
Sure, and we thank you for the ones that you did give us to share with all of our viewers, and there are plenty of beautiful ones, but you're right, you never think this friend is going to be gone. I mean, he's in the prime of his life. I want to ask you all to, if you just had to introduce Johnny to all of us, assuming someone at home may be turning on the TV today, if they haven't heard about this case, what would you say about him? How would you describe Johnny? And Brendan, let me go back to you, and might I say, I really appreciate your ball cap. I know what that cap means. I'm looking at you. When I looked at you, I couldn't see until the shot got bigger. 2490, that's Johnny's badge number. So a way you're honoring him this morning. Describe Johnny to us, please, Brendan.
I think everyone that ever met Johnny would say the same things. Johnny was unbelievably generous. He was unbelievably loyal. Again, as John Jackson had mentioned, once you're in Johnny's orbit, you were there permanently. He was supportive, but his loyalty and his generosity, I think, were two of his most notable qualities.
I mean, what great qualities, right? John, let me go to you next. What else should we know about Johnny?
Well, following up what Brendan said, we'll say it this way, most of us hope at some point in our lives when the moment arrives where you have to step up and be a hero, you'd like to think that you'd be able to do it. And with Johnny, the moment came when, with his niece and nephew, when his sister and brother-in-law passed. And what people don't remember really is the children were 3 and 6 years old at the time. I mean, they were just in the formative years too. And he had a single sort of bachelor lifestyle as a Boston cop, and he put that all on hold, and he just raised those kids. So, when you think about a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old going through what they went through, and Johnny being there at those moments when they wake up in the middle of the night, he was there. He was there for everything. And if you need to know who he was, that's him. So,
yeah, a hero. I mean, really, a hero on the streets when he would go to work and put that uniform on, not knowing what he would encounter, but then at home too, rescuing those children, those sweet children who were orphaned, so sadly, because of both of their parents passing away. I mean, it's almost unthinkable that this tragically happened to those children, and then to lose their uncle too, who had become dad. I mean, it's just, it breaks your heart. Jackie, to you next. How would you describe Johnny?
I mean, Brendan and John said it, and I actually reached out to a couple of our close friends and asked them if they wanted me to relay anything, because not everyone has this opportunity, which I'm so humbled to have, to kind of share about John, and everyone said the same thing. You could count on him. He was easy to talk to. It was kind of like he made you feel comfortable, speaking to him and just becoming, part of his world. He stood by the people, by his friends, in good times and in bad. And what people kind of don't remember also is that around the same time that his sister passed, his best friend passed, and he took on a lot of that as well. And, he just never asked for anything in return, did it quietly, did it, without question. That's just who he was. Just who he was.
Wow, Jackie, I don't believe we knew that. This is news to me. So, you know, his brother-in-law, his sister both pass away, and then Johnny steps in to be dad to the kids, and then he also loses his best friend too?
It was a little bit prior to him stepping in, a couple of months prior, but another Boston police officer who is one of his best and dearest friends, and John is actually the godfather to his son. Yeah, I mean, he took on a lot there too, and he just talking to his family, and what they wanted me to convey is that he also was taking, you know, one of his fellow police officers to cancer treatment, and no one ever knew. No one ever knew. He just never would do things for his friends and never ask for anything in return, and that is just really who he was. Unbelievable guy, really.
Isn't that the true meaning of giving, right? When you give and you're not expecting anything in return and you're not doing it for show. As you all described, generous, loyal, and beloved, might I add, beloved. I can see that from talking to all of you, and what a wonderful family the O'Keefes are. Thank goodness. They all have each other, and the children have all of them, and all of you wonderful friends to get them through the coming years. We're not done with this conversation. We just need to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're continuing our salute for Boston Police Officer John O'Keefe. We're talking about not only his life, but next, his legacy, the legacy that he has left behind. And we thank him for his 16 years of service.
Confessing to a murder on camera.
We're here to try and understand the mindsets behind your actions in this case. It sounds like you lost control of yourself.
Not at all. No, not at all.
I'm done with this interview. That's so conniving. Do you understand that?
I'm your worst nightmare, David.
Interview with a Killer, a special 2-hour season premiere. Sunday, 8 Eastern and Pacific, only on Court TV.
It was a somber scene at Officer John O'Keefe's funeral in February of 2022, a week after he was killed. And as we inch closer to the murder retrial for his girlfriend, defendant Karen Reed, we are saluting the man who meant so much to so many by talking to 3 of his dearest friends. Jackie Dugal, Brendan Kane, and John Jackson are with us this morning. And in this segment, I want to talk about Johnny's legacy, what he's left behind, the memories, everything that is going to stay with all of you for the rest of your lives. Jackie, let me begin with you. Your thoughts, please.
You know, we talk about how loyal he was and unwavering in his friendship, but he was also a guy who you would laugh around. He would always crack jokes, and you know, a couple friends who I'd reached out to said, you know, he loved golf tournaments, and he'd unclip people's bags so that it would fall out, and you'd always get a quick little laugh. And you know, just you know, the people he's left behind, his niece and nephew, and also Paul and Aaron's children, Reese and Ryan. They've lost a really great uncle who was fun and silly, and like, that's the kind of stuff that I miss the most, is just his little walk, and he had a bounce to his step, and you know, just having fun, and always had fun when he was around, really.
Mm-hmm. He seems that way. He seems that way, that, you know, would like to, you know, enjoy life, have as much fun as he could, but then also you see how just responsible he was, and how he knew when to be serious, when to have a good time, huh? John, let me go to you next, please. Johnny's legacy, what is it?
Sure. You know, Jackie's making me laugh here with some of the things, you know, his walk and how he moved, and it's you can see it right now. You can see him doing it. He had this, the way he spoke, and he just was hilarious. He was hilarious, and you know, going to college with him, I can't tell you all the great stories.
Sure.
But
pick a safe one for TV, John. Yeah, if you have a safe, quick story, feel free.
So let me say it this way more. Two things I can think about Johnny's legacy mostly. He was an incredible family man. Like he loved his family, his whole family, and this has been really trying on him. So, say your prayers for the O'Keefes. But also for us, I look around and Brendan's on here, Jackie's on here, and the group of friends that he had were amazing, and we'll be lifelong friends because of him, regardless of this. But I think specifically because this will be a lot closer, and there'll be more to hear from us later on after this is all over. But,
sure, and you're always welcome on this program, John. The love and the friendship, huh?
Thank you.
Yes, yes. And Brendan, to you next. What's Johnny's legacy?
Yeah, I think it does come down to family, and I think for Johnny, his closest friends were family. Johnny has a large extended family, largely in the Boston area, so countless cousins. I mean, Johnny was raising his niece and nephew, but he has 2 other amazing nieces that he was the fun uncle for, that they now have this enormous void in their life. Johnny loved his family aggressively, and I think that's where everyone's memories of Johnny will never go away. And that when you look back and see what an amazing man he was in so many different ways, I think that's the true legacy he leaves.
Yes, yes, that family is everything, right? I think we can all learn that from him, and that he was such a protector. That's really what I'm taking away from this as I'm listening to you speak, Brendan. I always feel like our friends can teach us important things. And before we say goodbye, we have just, about a minute or so. I'd love to just kind of go around to each of you and share with us briefly one thing that Johnny taught you. Let me start again. Let me start with John this time. We'll start with you this time around, John.
It's all kind of the same theme. You actually said it yourself earlier. He knew, when to do what he was supposed to do, and when to have fun, when to let loose and have fun. And for us, we would all go out, and he would be, sort of he'd be the one that kind of kept everybody in check, at least early on in the evenings. But
sure.
He was the one who kind of knew what he was supposed to do, when he was supposed to do it. And he was always up front with you, brutally honest with you, good or bad, didn't matter. And you appreciated it about him, and maybe you didn't appreciate his methods of delivery sometimes, but he had a funny way about it. But
that's always a great thing. Okay, I'm getting the warning that we're going to have to say goodbye in a sec. So just quickly, but I want to get your answers. Brendan, to you next, please.
Johnny taught me to buy the first round. Johnny's
good.
Generosity came out in many ways, but
good.
Johnny O'Keefe would always buy the first round.
What a generous guy. That's awesome. Jackie, to you next.
Just something my husband really wanted to say, and I know Brendan and Jackson would agree, is that if it was any of us in the other situation, he would be here, he would be with you, he would be standing out, and he'd be supporting our families, he would be there.
If it was anyone else, he'd be on this program like you all are, standing up for him. I can certainly see that. Jackie, John, Brendan, thank you all so very much. As we go to break, let's remember the generous, loving, wonderful man, Officer John O'Keefe.